Hello and welcome to the SamMobile Podcast. I'm your host Ben from SamMobile, and welcome to episode 15 of your weekly SamMobile Podcast, where we give you all the latest news in the world of Samsung weekly, all wrapped up into this show. And we are pretty much going to be talking about the fact that we are in the 1 week, penultimate week of One UI 5 beta being announced and rolling out, and actually we're pretty much going to be discussing the first early leaked looks of what we should be expecting to see when it comes to One UI 5 beta. And also watch One UI 4.5 is pretty much on the horizon, and we have details from Samsung of what devices to be expecting and the features, and we're going to be discussing our favorite features that we're expecting to see so far and what that could mean for upcoming new watches like the Galaxy Watch 5 that is apparently around the corner. And also, we do have a special guest. Hey, it is not a Ben solo SamMobile Podcast episode today. We do have a special guest. I'm going to introduce him in the next one, and he is a great friend and colleague of mine that I've known for a while. I'm really happy for him to be on the show. So as we always like to say, get your meal, get your popcorn, get your drink, because it is, of course, going to be a good show. And we are pretty much here. As you can see, we have our special guest. He's a dear friend of mine, but I won't take the spotlight from him. I will leave it to him to introduce himself. So I'm going to pass it over to our guest right now.
Yeah, I'm Paul. I've done a few tech podcasts in the past. It has been a while though, so bear with me if I make some slip ups. It's been a bit of time. It's good to be here.
Mr. Paul Stubbers himself. He's literally, part of the Snappy Tech family. And again, you guys are familiar with George. Paul is literally one of the guys that I've known for so long in the industry, since 2017, when I pretty much then I've started out. And yes, please do bear with him. I have kind of resurrected him after like almost a year and a half to come onto here. But, I wouldn't want any other person to be here alongside, the guests that you've seen on here. So really, really happy to have you here, Paul. Thank you so much for taking your time, to kind of, discuss with us all things that's been popping off in the week of Samsung, and, just sharing your thoughts with the SamMobile audience as well. How are you in general anyway, before we get started?
Yeah, I've been good. I've been enjoying the weather, though it is hot this week, no matter how much the rest of the world will take the mickey out of me for that. But I've been good. I've just been getting on with stuff around the house, and making all cool stuff. Like, I'm really into carpentry now, which is really cool as a tech person.
Yeah.
Because for instance, things like a bedside cabinet, like trying to get a built-in wireless charging, for instance.
Okay.
They're really expensive.
Yeah. They are.
As a tech nerd, to sort of put these two things together, I can do some really cool things that would otherwise cost me a complete bomb. That I can do for like sort of half the money or less, and just get some really cool things out of it. And I love it.
And listen, for our audio and video watchers on the podcast, we did not discuss this before. This is something you all know about Paul. I'm really getting this set up ideas that I might have to hit him up for and pay him for to do. But that's really good to hear, man. That's really good to hear in terms of just having a differentiation breakout, but also mixing the world of tech that into just handmade craft skill sets like that. So no, it's good to hear, man. I'm glad you're doing well, and really, really happy to have you here on the SamMobile Podcast. And again, for our audio and also video listeners across all your favorite podcasting platforms and also on YouTube, make sure you give us a follow, turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos as well, and give us a rating and just let us know what you think of the SamMobile Podcast, because as always, we're aiming to make sure we give you all the latest news wrapped up in a nice show in the world of Samsung. With that in mind, let's pretty much not waste any time. Let's dive straight into it. And we're going to be talking about the first topic, right? One UI 5, One UI version 5. And we're talking about the initial beta. And it looks like we are pretty much in the penultimate week. We're in the penultimate week where we should be getting the first rollout coming. And I know we've talked about it many times on the podcast. We've done individual videos on the YouTube channel as well, where we've discussed all the things that we've heard. And I mean, initially, our sources did tell us that we should be expecting it within the third week of July. Now, wink, wink, hint, hint, we are recording this as of Wednesday, the second week of July, which is on the 13th, right? So we are pretty much what feels like in the penultimate week before One UI 5 beta gets rolled out. But I mean, before then, we did actually get some breaking news. We got some breaking news where this was actually initially discovered by the guys over at 9 to 5 Google, funny enough, where they pretty much managed to somehow get access to, the insider version of One UI 5 beta that was, being tested by the Samsung employees. And again, this is something that we also reported on, where we heard rumors about, hey, it's actually already been internally tested by people that work at Samsung. And, that kind of gave us the indication that, hey, we are edging ever so closer to it actually officially rolling out, us getting our hands onto it, and we should be expecting it on the Galaxy S22 models, right? But this, where we're seeing the design leaks and new features and apparent smoother animations, which is a really big underpinning, this does look very interesting in terms of Samsung's version and Samsung's idea of what Android 13. Now, before I dive into it, right, I'm going to pass it over to you, then we're just going to go back and forth and see. With you looking at this so far and having a quick recap of where Android is right now, what do you think, and what's your take on what you're seeing so far?
From the images especially, was what actually jumped out to me at first. Is the style that they're going for seems actually like it's becoming more like stock, like what I remember of just the stock Google Android, which I like. I've been, my last phone was a Realme phone, so quite different, but I'm currently on an S21 Ultra. Before my Realme, I was on an S8, so I've been with sort of experienced most iterations of One UI. And I remember also the days before One UI where Samsung's skins were very cluttered and they were a bit overdone almost. Their entire systems were sort of very clogged up. So it is, like, I quite enjoy seeing it go slowly closer to Google. And it's also nice when you see that it does also give you a bit of hope that the features that Google are putting in, Samsung aren't going to try and override too much. Because sometimes when you see, like, when you get the feature list for a new version of Android, you sometimes look at it, and if it's not specifically mentioned that this will be like hard-coded into Android, so everyone will get use out of it, sometimes you look at it and be like, well, are the phone manufacturers going to just stop this from being a thing? Are they just going to ruin all of the work that Google are putting into it? Which is a real issue from time to time with certain phone manufacturers. So it is nice when you do see that they're at least trying to not make it look horrible. And like with my Realme before, they just changed the UI so much. It really irritates me, some of the skins. Like, I get some people who like that. But because I'm a tech nerd, I actually really love one of my favorite phones of all time, apart from its issues, was the Nexus 6P.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
I like it.
And we're gonna dive into some of the things that we're seeing that actually resonates with what you're talking about, right? Sticking closer to the stock or the Google experience of how Android is gonna be, right? Maybe not necessarily AOSP, but in terms of the material you experience. I mean, it's our viewers will be able to see it with how I'm going through it. But if you look at something like the pop-up permissions notifications, before, you've got One UI 4.0 on the left with the permissions pop-up where it's at the bottom. It looks very, very, One UI based with Samsung. Whereas now, from what we're seeing with One UI 5, it's at the top, it's centralized, it's more of the squircle kind of rectangular, shapes, and it's leaning more into the material color palette selection that is, that was very synonymous with the big change that happened with Android 12. And it's bleeding into more of the core functionality of what we're seeing with the, user experience, user interface, UI look of it, So that is something that, like what you're saying, it's good. We want more of this, right? We want more of this where when you're stripping down the layers and we're seeing more of what's being utilized from Google, the impression for me is that we should have a more consistent and cohesive experience. That's an important thing for me in terms of that consistent and cohesive experience. We've got redesigns to things like the privacy and security hub, which is really nice. Again, allowing more of the material U elements of it to really feed in with the colors, which is really great. You've got more options when it comes to, connectivity toggles. So for example, with the UWB ultra wideband, signal that's in there, it's been given the same level of control as, what you would have with NFC, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Some will say, why would you need it? But again, if it's anything that you have more control over that you're not using and you're going to be able to save more battery life, that's the justification of having that toggle to be able to toggle it on and off. It's no different when you maybe switch from 5G to 4G. Like for example, I'm still in Canada at the minute. I'm going to be back in UK as of next week, Wednesday on the 20th. When I'm here, I'm not getting 5G with my plan. So I just switch it to 4G, save even more battery life when I'm out there. When I come back in UK, I can fully use my 5G plan. There's other elements that's been put in there as well, just looking at it, where you've got more collaborations that you can do in Samsung Notes, where it looks like you can share with up to 100 different users. And it's almost like a whiteboard kind of, feature, like what you see on Microsoft with whiteboard as well. Multitasking has always been one of the biggest things in One UI. And again, this is something that Samsung in general, back in the old TouchWiz days, or Grace UI, or Samsung Experience UI, or the old days of before One UI, they were actually pushing through multitasking, more than Google themselves did on a native level. So to have, options and toggles within the lab sections to allow you to activate gestures that will let you, get to these, multi-screen features quicker should hopefully incentivize more people to use it as well. What else do we have? We pretty much have, again, multitasking in mind. From what we saw, we have active notifications and active apps that show up in a quick toggles area at the top. So, you don't necessarily have to go into task switching mode. It shows you your apps that are active in a pop-up at the top, just to give you more of a quick glance as well. You've got the optical, recognition feature as well that's there. And also the ability with the gallery app to be able to, copy text from pictures. So you can, extract. It's really looking up, and it's really looking well in terms of them leaning into it. But again, the biggest one, the biggest one. And me and George discussed this on previous podcasts, saying, I think this is just a synonymous thing in the community, especially for Samsung fans. Animation, speeds, stability, smoothness, and fluidity. Now, we had Max Weinbach, which I believe he is part of 95 Google now, and Ice Universe, showcase videos of, the animation, of what looks to be improved on One UI 5 beta. And I mean, I said it in the reaction video that take it with a grain of salt. How these videos are recorded might not necessarily showcase, the improvement in its best light. But this is something that we're looking forward to in terms of seeing and experiencing when it comes to the improvements that One UI 5 is meant to bring when we experience the beta, hopefully next week. I personally think that this is the right step in the right direction. Discussing it before as well, I think this is an opportunity for, I know it's going to be a bit radical for people to accept, but I think a genuine design change, because Android 12 last year was a really big design change for the Google Pixel experience, right? I personally feel, compared to One UI 3.1, the One UI 4 didn't lean into it enough. That's just an opinion-based thing. And I just think this is probably an opportunity for them to do that, where, like you said, strip back, embrace more of what the core Android experience is with Android 13, so we can have that more cohesive experience, lean into like a much more streamlined design for it, and really improve on those animations in terms of frame pacing, less stutters, and smoothness without the need of having to go into the developer options, pushing animations down to 0.5x speeds, the old trick, right? That's my opinion. I mean, what else is your take, considering all these other features that we've talked about? And what else do you think you would want to see more from them as they go through each version of One UI 5?
Yeah, well, I actually quite liked the sort of the word stripped back there. I think that actually works pretty well for this, because I mean, every now and then when with these Android skins, when you keep adding features and you slowly get further away from the vanilla Android. So sometimes you do just need to strip it back, and you need to take some time to actually bring it back to look and resemble more what it is. And actually, with the sort of the idea of like what I want to see Samsung do more of, I think the OCR, what's it called, optical character recognition, that's now going to be built into the Gallery app. That is something that the Google Photos app has had for a while through Google Lens. Yes. And it's part of the reason why I actually use the Google Photos app more than the Samsung Gallery app on my phone. Google Drive and stuff. But bringing in some of those features to Samsung apps, I think will be good, because like not all of the Google apps do I want to actually use them. I want to use some of the Samsung apps. I bought a Samsung phone, so I like a lot of the Google apps, and I like the seamlessness between devices. That like if I am in a period of like switching between phones, it's nice to have the same old, like the comfortable knowing where everything is. But I've spent $1,000 on a phone. Like, I want to actually experience what this phone has to offer me as well. So I don't want to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't want to get a phone and be like, well, you're going to end up in a folder of apps from Samsung that I never touch. Like, just I have a folder in my app drawer with just apps that Samsung have pre-installed that I can't disable. I think everyone does.
Everyone potentially, parks it.
And I don't want apps like Gallery to be like that. I want to see these features on there and have a genuine choice, rather than feeling like I have to use other stuff, because Google don't get everything right. Obviously, otherwise other companies would probably be more likely to use a relatively stock Android. And there are plenty of things, especially on like tablets, that Samsung definitely do a lot better.
Absolutely.
So these kind of things are definitely good to see.
And you said this, right, where Google doesn't always get it right. And here's some of the things where we can really pull in on it and just kind of praise One UI that does well. Feature sets, right? You go back to multitasking. Google, for the longest time as an Android OEM, did not natively support true multitasking. They pretty much behaved like iOS when it came to not supporting true multitasking. It was actually Samsung's layer on top that actually brute forced that through, on top of features like Good Lock that you can really push things that work really well on foldables in terms of continuity and so many different other stuff as well, right? So you've got to give praise where praise is due, but it's I think Samsung's problem was the balance didn't skew for the consistent experience across the board, especially when it came to speed and fluidity, right? And I think they're getting it now. They're getting the balance from the seesaw scale to a point where it's getting closer to that parity of what we really want in terms of feature sets versus, a fluid, consistent, easy experience. Another thing I'm going to put out there that I really love about One UI is the capabilities it has with dual SIM. As someone that travels synonymously a lot and has multiple SIMs while I'm testing different phones at the same time, I might be a rare exception, but having the ability of having, let's just say, multiple WhatsApps on your phone, multiple dual instances of different apps that correlate with different numbers, you know, and just the ability to just run parity with a completely separate partition with Knox in a secure folder for different apps, you know, for the amount of non-disclosures that I assign and things that I have to get to. It's brilliant for that. It's brilliant for that. But I will say, one navigational feature that I really hope that we do see in One UI 5 beta is vertical scrolling for that app tray. I know this is one thing I've harped on for anyone that has been watching any of our SamMobile coverage since I joined SamMobile way back in July and October last year, right? This is something I keep saying about the software, because you vertically scroll to get into the app tray already, right? Why not just let me continue scrolling in alphabetical order that way? I still never get used to, even now, having to scroll up and then scroll to the right. I always do like a double scroll, escape the app tray, then come back to scrolling left and right. And it's first world problems, but it's like, just give us complete vertical scrolling, please. So,
it's one of those things that needs customization options. Like, just have a toggle in settings to say which way. It doesn't take a lot of work.
There we go.
It really doesn't.
There we go. So, I mean, I'm off head. These are the kind of things that I celebrate about One UI. I would want to see added with future versions of One UI, which I hope we see with Beta 5. Don't know if that's going to be the case, but I mean, is there any other feature that you personally love about One UI that maybe you would also want to see either improved or new feature set coming in future versions that we're expecting?
I definitely think, for me, because I use my tablet so much.
Okay.
I actually really appreciate the effort that Samsung has put into making my tablet experience actually good.
Oh, right.
Because iPads are great and all that, but they're just not for me. I like my Android experience, and also I don't like spending the extra money that you can sometimes have to spend with iPads.
Yes. Especially with added accessories that should be there.
Yeah.
You know,
and there's also the continuity. I have a Android phone, and certain things just work better if I'm sort of double Android. So the work that has went into One UI 4 tabs is definitely a big thing for me. And I think Google are actually going to be putting more effort into some of those things.
They've got to.
Yeah, because folding phones, right? They're already putting a lot of effort into the folding phone side of things, and a part of that is the apps working on bigger screens.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm definitely hoping that Google can learn a thing from Samsung, and it actually seems as if they are going to do that, because Samsung and Google have slowly been sort of working together on different things. And it's definitely nice to see that, rather than Google seeing Samsung as competitors as they make phones, actually seeing each other as collaborators. With Samsung making Android better. Samsung is kind of synonymous with Android at this point. Yeah. And then Samsung can help Google and vice versa. That is definitely promising. And I think, I think maybe less so Android 13. I think that will end up sort of having some better side of things. And of course that will leak into One UI 5.0. And then, but I think it's going to be more Android 14 before that perfect experience comes, really. Or perfect
experience when it comes to that. I think one thing that is good about what you said is that Google did showcase this at I/O, in May the 11th this year, and they were proud to embrace Samsung when it came to tablets. They were proud to take ownership when it came to what they want to do in terms of Android tablet support with native apps and just a better experience for foldables as well. So we are really excited. And honestly, to wrap it up, if all is expected, we are in the penultimate week. One UI 5 beta version 1 should be rolling out next week. We should be expecting to get it on the Galaxy S22 series. What is good is compared to last year where we got the beta rollout, I believe at the start of September, this gives a much bigger window to really improve the final output that we should be expecting in October for One UI 5, the official OTA rollout. And I think this is a better start where it's not really been that far behind Google starting the beta program. And we're eager to really get it tested. And as we said, SamMobile is the home of all things One UI coverage. One UI 5 is hopefully around the corner with the beta model. And we should really pretty much be getting hands-on with that very soon. That is it with topic 1 out the window. It is the main crunch. But as always, we're going to have a short water break. Don't go too far because we are going to be talking about Watch One UI 4.5. The device is going to be coming onto. It's pretty much around the corner, and we're going to discuss some of our favorite features on it, what that means for the watches that are available now, and also potential new watches that could be around the corner that we've been discussing about previously on podcasts before. So don't go too far. We'll be right back. And we are back. Hope you didn't go too far. We didn't go that far. I promise you, it was just about 1.5 minutes. We refilled the waters, rehydrated. It's hot here. It's hot there. We've got to make sure that we're keeping fresh and hydrated and smooth so we can give you all the latest news when it comes to things to discuss. And the next one is all to do with One UI Watch 4.5. It is pretty much near enough here. It's almost here. And Samsung pretty much detailed, some of the features on what we should be expecting. And also, we're going to give, this should be hopefully a quick throw in one. We've discussed this a lot and what that could mean for, the watches that are available now and what watches could be around the corner, which we've been discussing plenty on the podcast before. So it's going to be very interesting to see in that sense. So yeah, we're going to switch to it, and our viewers will pretty much be able to watch this if you're seeing this, on the video side of things. But, we discussed about pretty much what our top 3 One UI Watch 4.5 features are for the Galaxy Watch. And, it's pretty much here as of for the Galaxy Watch very soon. And, details were announced on it. This was obviously on the 12th, which was yesterday. We're recording this on the 15th, 12th on a Tuesday. They said soon. And it's really down to, just improved customizations and just something to help deliver a better user experience for the watch. And one of the things that we're seeing is a full QWERTY keyboard via the swipe typing capabilities. I don't know how I feel about this because, again, watch screens are small, but again, the fact that it's using swipe, it looks interesting. I'm going to reserve my comments on there in terms of what we're seeing right there. It's a watch, so having the ability to customize the faces for your watch and dates is always something that's going to be really nice, whether it's with the attire that you're wearing, especially if you're using the Watch 4 Classic, for example, with the traditional, rotating bezel, or it's just your favorite watch face that mimics close to what an original timepiece and a traditional timepiece looked like. This is good. And, just having quick access to it is something that, just enables that, a frictionless experience to really customize it to your liking as well. And obviously you've got, more customizations for the home button as well. Just, being able to put that tempering functions to stay on the screen, which is really good. It just allowing you to define how long you can put things like notifications or let's just say volume prompts or those things on the screen. Because again, a smartwatch screen is small, right? You don't really want to be clogging up unnecessary things on there because it's already cramped by nature, right? Rollout of it's going to be starting very soon, any moment now. And this will definitely be on a Watch 4 Classic and a Watch 4. And obviously we should be expecting, again, the year calendar rolls like clockwork, right? We should be seeing the 5th generation of the Galaxy Watch series very soon. And I believe this will be the one that runs out of the box. So I think we should be able to see that showcase. Now, I'm going to pass this over to you, Paul, because I'm not much of a watch person. I'm just going to put it out there. Right. This is not a smartwatch person. I'm just not naturally a watch person. But, I don't have a Galaxy Watch 4. If the alleged Watch 5 does come out, again, if I do get reviewing it, I will be testing it. and seeing if it changes my mind in any way in terms of using a smartwatch or just using a watch in general. But what's your thoughts having to see this, with One UI Watch 4.5?
Yeah, it seems like a very solid 0.5 update. Like there's some nice features. Nothing's like groundbreaking, but it's not like it's not Watch UI 5. Like it's that we expect that. It's sad to know because I'm pretty sure this stuff's only coming to the Wear OS ones, which is sad because I currently have Active 2.
Okay, yes.
I got it right before the first Wear OS focused one came out.
Yep.
So that was slightly annoying. Did get it at a very good price though, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's always nice to have more customization options, as you say. It's a watch is a piece of jewelry, so how it looks is important.
Yes.
And also it's a small screen, so what it fits on the screen is also important. Like some people don't want to be straining their eyes to see there's 4 different dials squeezed into this tiny little space. And I have to be honest with the keyboard. When I looked at this, I actually had to check because I kind of thought that this was already a thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a thing on the Apple Watches, which is possibly where my confusion came from. But I genuinely had to wait until someone sent me a message and then go through and reply. And be like, okay, it's like
not
the
there.
old typing style. And it's like, okay, it's a small space to type on.
Yeah.
So no, you're not going to be writing long essay replies to people.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice. If I want to send something that isn't one of the automatic free replies that they create for me. Yeah. If I literally want to say okay rather than it's saying for sure or something like that, then it's nice to have that option without going through and doing the pad version of typing. Well, I can't remember what it's called.
It's basically the T3 predictive texting. That's the old school kind of going through each number that has 3 letters on the number pad. Yeah, it's the old, oh goodness, the old Nokia face-off in 3310 days. Let's put it that when short messaging systems, SMS was the lick. But I just had an idea come in my head that is quite far-fetched but interesting. Hear me out, people. I think this feature would suit if the watch supported the S Pen. I know it sounds weird. Hear me out here. I know it sounds weird, but your fingers are chubby, right? Even if you've got skinny fingers, they are too big to be swipe texting in general, and even navigating. This is why the digital rotating crown on Samsung devices works so well, because it just allowed a level of navigation that stopped your finger from not just being on the screen, but smudging the screen on your watch, right? No one likes a smudgy screen on a watch. No one likes a smudgy screen, period, especially on the watch, right? It makes it more reflective. It just looks yucky, and just seeing it just does not help already, right? I know that's a tall order to ask, but I just feel like some form of S Pen support where you have your S Pen in your Galaxy S22 Ultra, for example, right? It's a fine, thin tip. I think that would make more sense for a swipe-based typing on your smartwatch. I'm actually just putting the motion in, right? I wish I had the top-down camera, but I've got the S Pen here, for example, right? And I don't think it looks... If you do the motion, I don't think it feels far-fetched in a way, right?
I genuinely actually wanted this as well.
Yep. I don't know why this just came to mind, but I just feel like that could be a very, very super geeky, but actually super functional way to use your watch to type and reply back with the swipe mechanism for the full QWERTY keyboard. I mean, call me outlandish. I'm okay to hear all the comments about this guy's nuts and S Pen support for the Galaxy Watch. But I mean, if there's an apparent Galaxy Watch 5 Pro coming out, would not the Pro name carry more weight, not just in apparent improved battery life, but also having like clutch features like that to go with the software implementation? I'm only just thinking about this now, but I mean, what's your take on it?
So as I say, this is actually something I've kind of wanted. Like, I understand that not everyone's going to want this feature. But because, as I say, I've got a Tab S8, so I have a pen, and quite often I do actually use it. I never realised how much I would use it. And there's a fair few times when I've been on my tablet, which I don't have WhatsApp on my tablet, it doesn't have a SIM, but I get a message through on my phone, and I go to check it on my watch, and then I go to like to see the message properly.
There you go.
And think, I've got to now go and change. And I think it would be genuinely useful, as you say. It's like with such a tiny screen, like especially on the Active, I've got the smaller version, so it is very small. It's very easy to fat finger it. It would be so much easier. Like the size difference in the point that I've actually got to control with there, and then you would have so much more accuracy on the typing. It would be good. I don't expect to see it, but I would actually quite like that as a feature. It's going to be a few years before I upgrade my watch. But yeah, no, I'd like that.
I just thought about it because I think these marketing names for especially things like Pro and Ultra need more justification, right? They just need more justification, and I think it's outlandish, but I think for the full QWERTY keyboard to be really, really maximized and utilized on a watch, I think S Pen or stylus support would make absolute sense. More sense than you would actually think of. And I've never thought of it until it just a pin drop moment came when you were discussing. I was like, you just start thinking, how do you utilize the features more? How do you become more akin to wanting to use it making sense? And I think secretly, if they can pull off something like that, I think that would really justify ever putting something like an apparent Pro name to a watch series. That's my hot take. I think that's a hot take. And
I think it's a good take.
And I mean, let's wait and see what One UI Watch 4.5 is going to look like for the Galaxy Watch 4 and Watch 4 Classic. It is only available on the Wear OS devices, meaning that the upcoming Galaxy Watch 5 series, apparently, if that is the way it is, until we get an official or unpacked announcement and an announcement from Samsung, it's going to be interesting to see that in full realization. But S Pen support for Samsung watches, not that far-fetched. So yes, we are pretty much into the final stride. Topic 2 is done out the way. This one's going to be a very interesting one because this final stage is really going to be for the guest to really talk his experience with the Galaxy Tab S8 series. He's been using one of the Tab S8s, and he wants to pretty much give us his opinions on what his experience has been long term with it. And I think as someone that has used the Tab S8 Ultra, I'm eager to hear which model he has and what the experiences are when it scales up to it. So we're in the final stretch, people. One last water break, and then we will be right back. And we are back. We are in the final stretch. We're going to do a bit of a different one now. This is what I like to call the special guest review section. I don't know if I'm going to edit an echo into that, but just take it for what it is. I don't know why I plugged it the way I did, but as you know, we've got Mr. Paul Stubbers here, and he has been using one of the Galaxy Tab S8 series. I mean, you saw a glimpse of the S Pen before. What we're talking about, still staying on it when it comes to having S Pen support for the Galaxy Watch, but he has been using one of the Galaxy Tab S8 series. So we're going to pass it over to him to tell us what model he has, what's been his overall general consensus and experience of it. And this is pretty much the guest review section, and we'll pretty much chime in as well. Over to you, Paul.
Yeah, so I have the base model Tab S8. I have it right here with my terrible application of a screen protector, and obviously not very clean at the moment either. Like, genuinely, like, there's no, I think there might have been like one bubble over here, which I think I managed to get rid of eventually, and then like, just a couple of them burst as well, so like I can't get rid of them now.
The nightmares, like the nightmares of a screen protector, right? Oh, mate. Right.
That was the Samsung screen protector, which, if people don't know, Samsung do screen protectors for the tablets with anti-glare coating. And I sit with a window behind me a fair amount.
Yeah.
Something really useful.
Really, really clutch. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. I've got the base model Tab S8, and like for context, I came from a Tab S5e.
Wow.
Before.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'd been using that I actually pre-ordered that, so I've been using that for just under 3 years, I believe. And I also pre-ordered this in the end because the pre-order rewards were pretty damn decent.
Yeah.
And yeah, so far I've actually been really enjoying it. One of the big things actually when I was looking at this and wondering whether I could live with this was actually the screen. It's not an AMOLED screen.
Yes. I do remember the base model is the TFT LCD base panel. Yes, that's true. I forgot about that. Good reminder on that. Nice.
Yeah, it's. I think it's been that way since, was it the S6? I don't remember if the S6 lineup was like full out. I can't remember much. But yeah, it's definitely been that way since the S7. Of course, like a lot of things haven't really changed since the S7. Like you can use the exact same cases because they just basically copied and paste the actual physical design of it. But yeah, I was surprised with the screen though when I got it. It was genuinely good. Of course, if I'm in a very dark room, then you can notice it's obviously not.
Okay. Nice. That's another good take.
How often are you in a pitch black room watching it? Like, I'm certainly not. I usually have some LEDs at least on in the room, so it's not quite pitch black. And how often the content that you're watching or the games you're playing, how often is there a good amount of black to the screen? The main time I actually find that you ever get that is the letterboxing that happens with it's not a 16:9 screen, so you're watching 16:9 content.
That's true. That's another one. Good take. Another good take.
But one of the things that never actually used to exist in the YouTube app, or at least I know for a while it didn't, is the same thing you can do on the phone where if you pinch it, it expands to fill the entire screen, which I just do that. Like most of the time it's cropping out the parts of the screen that are completely useless anyway. Yeah, and it's actually surprisingly good how deep the blacks are. It's obviously not an AMOLED, but if I were to look at it without knowing it, it would take me a moment to notice that. So that was a really good positive. And Samsung are known for having great displays in their devices, so I didn't exactly doubt them. But yeah, it's just one of those things for me. It's a shame that because it's not an AMOLED, you have the side-mounted fingerprint sensor, which...
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, you just reminded me of the differences. Yes, that is true. It did. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Tab S5e had the side-mounted fingerprint sensor as well, so I was kind of used to it, but I still find it a little bit clunky at times. It is slightly different because, of course, it's only taking a slim image portion of your finger rather than the entire thing, or a more broad portion.
Surface area.
But again, it's quick. It's a actual like physical fingerprint sensor rather than one of the ones that have to blast through a screen, which
optically based,
getting fast. Like both the optical and the ultrasonic fingerprint sensors, they're getting really fast. They're just not quite the instantaneousness of the old fingerprint sensors. So it's not too bad. But again, like the speakers, and why there wasn't many options apart from to go for Samsung's like Tab S lineup. Was the speakers, those quad speakers. The S5e, they blew me away. The Atmos on them is genuinely trippy. Like I've been watching a video so many times. I've been watching a video and I suddenly hear something behind me. Like, what? Is someone in the room?
Dolby Atmos has come a really long way, and obviously how they've tuned it with their in-house AKG tuning team as well. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The AKG acquisition was definitely a good thing for Samsung. It's definitely brought the Samsung speakers to be really good, and just the audio in general on Samsungs. I've really enjoyed that. And as you say, the Atmos has come a long way. Atmos is genuinely incredible. Like, I can't believe how well Atmos, with just speakers in front of you, can trick you into thinking you have speakers all around you. And yeah, it's genuinely incredible. Not something I would have expected to have come out in the past 5 years. I would have expected it to come out in the next 5 years, if anything. So yeah, I really like that, and the speakers are really clear and loud. I actually compared them side by side with the S5e when I got the Tab S8.
That's
solid.
Yeah, that's a good take. That's a good take, and you've just reminded me so much that I forgot about the base model Tab S8. The reason why I say that is that I had brief hands-on, and anyone that doesn't know, these hands-on sessions are always before the devices get announced. This year, they mapped the Tab S8 series exactly to the Galaxy S series. You had a normal model, a Plus model, and an Ultra model. I think that parity was great. Had hands-on. And I think you reminded me of all those things. I remembered that situation. I think this time having hands-on was a lot more difficult. We had an hour to an hour and a half to record 6 devices and kind of get to use them. It's near enough impossible to gauge like a full experience of it. But I do have the Tab S8 Ultra, and the Tab S8 Ultra is one that I was very familiar with, and I did a full experience review, did a charging test video on it, really got to use it to get to know it. And what I'm noticing with you is that 11-inch Tab S8 is so much more usable without the case and the keyboard. Whereas that 14.6-inch Ultra needs it. Like, you hold it for 3 seconds, your hands start to hurt. It's one of those things, you need it to really get used to the experience of it. And the problem with the Tab S8 Ultra was not the tablet itself. It's so big and it costs so much that by the time you've added the keyboard case to it, it's the same price as a Galaxy Book 2 360. No joke. You might as well just get that. That has already got a screen, it's AMOLED, keyboard. It's a fully fledged actual computer by them, right? Whereas obviously the Tab S8, from what you're telling me, it really just hits that sweet spot really well. It's 11 inches in display size. Fine as a TFT LCD, it would have been better to be Super AMOLED because we've been so used to Samsung producing AMOLED panels either in the Super or the Dynamic moniker that they like to market right now. But hitting on things like, the in-display fingerprint sensor, they didn't actually use ultrasonic. They didn't use ultrasonic. I don't know whether it's because the tablets were so thin or it was a cost, or I don't know what the reason was, but actually, it almost sounds like the Tab S8 might actually have the better biometric authentication experience just because it's just so much quicker, which is not something I experienced on the Tab S8 Ultra. Another thing that I wanted to add for my experience with those tablets that I really just didn't like in the end was the vibration motors in there are very subpar. I don't know if that was your experience, but I did not find it's also another thing that caused you to need to use the case, because having to rely on typing without any haptic feedback and the haptic feedback being poor wasn't something I really enjoyed with the Tab S8 Ultra. So it's good to hear your take on the Tab S8, man. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's quite I think like the lineup that they have created. One, as you said, like you didn't actually get that much time to go through them all there, and there are a lot of differences. Like I remember a fair amount of the differences because I looked at them all when I was trying to choose to buy one. But yeah, things like the fingerprint sensor. I do find it on the side being a tiny bit awkward. It's so much better than in the screen to an extent because it's where I'm going to be holding it. Like I pick up the tablet, if I get it for the magnets of the case. like sometimes if you're holding it in this way, like you're basically there anyway. Even when I'm holding it round like this, all I've got to do is slide my hand up slightly, rather than like crane my thumb in and then get it to the angle where it's going to read it properly. Yes,
absolutely.
So it's genuinely a good experience. And as for the haptics, I actually can't speak to them too much because I can't remember why I turned a lot of them off, but
this is probably not good, mate. I promise you. You turn it off when it's not good. Take it from me. You turn haptics off when they are not good. Haptics, vibration motors and haptics are things you do not see on the spec sheet. They're never, it's never a thing that's spec sheeted, right? But it's a very big intangible, you know, and it's such a good, and it's just, we've come a long way with experiencing with how good they're on the smartphones that it's such a night and day difference when you get to even their premium tablet and it's absolutely rubbish. It's unfortunate for me. They need to figure that out somehow because it is an integral part of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that there's no excuse for it being bad on the Ultra because at that price it just needs to be good. But what I will say is designing haptics for a phone, which like sort of size comparison is like I can barely fit the tablet in the frame alongside the phone. Like it's a two-handed experience. A lot larger experience is definitely different. And there is definitely engineering work that needs to go into tuning that to be right. And it may even be just something that they only need to do a tiny bit of work with. And in some cases, even just they need to tweak the software to just get that quite in the zone. Possibly. I mean, I don't know. But it could be something as simple as that. But yeah, you would assume that this is something that they know they would need to work on at least for next gen because at that price, you expect it to be fine.
At this point, whether it's a bigger motor, a custom motor for the frame with the chassis being so slim, software and firmware optimization, they just need to focus on that, right? It's so bad. It's like pre-2016 days. Bad, right? It's one of the things that kind of made needing the keyboard, especially for the Ultra model, a necessity, you know, because you just felt it rattle so much in that really thin frame, you know, and that's just one of the things that I just wanted to kind of put out there. And it's good you've mentioned it as well. Any final takes for me when it comes to your Tab S8 experience? Would you, given the chance to buy any of the three again with no budget, would that still be the one that you would go for?
Yeah, I think so. If budget wasn't a question, I still wouldn't go with the Ultra.
Okay.
It's just too
big. It is. It is.
Like, and it gets to the point with that. Not only is it cumbersome to hold, but it's even cumbersome to put down some places. And yeah, I just wouldn't want that. Like, if I want a 14-inch screen, I'll just go to my laptop. Generally. Where I'd also probably actually have a better typing experience and all that. Though I do appreciate DeX for what that is capable of doing on some bigger screens. Would I go for the Plus?
That's a good question.
The question. Of course, it has the under-screen fingerprint sensor. It has the AMOLED screen. I'm not sure if it has a tiny bit more RAM options. I can't remember. It, of course, has a bigger battery because bigger body. So there are definitely upsides for it, but it's still the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip. And yeah, I think I would probably still go for this base model just for that portability. Like I can easily hold it in one hand, especially with a device that comes with the S Pen included. I can easily sit here, one hand tablet, one hand S Pen, and actually like do things with it. Whereas I think the Plus is at that point where it could be a little bit more borderline.
So in terms of configuration, it's the same. There is an 8 gig RAM and 128 gigabyte storage model. and a 12 gig RAM and 256 gigabyte storage model for both the Tab S8 and the Plus. We just have it here on the screen for our video listeners and watchers as well. So if it's not a factor, I think what would have been an even sweeter spot is if it had an AMOLED display. But I just think what you've said is synonymous for tablets do well at the 11-inch screen size. Anything more, there has to be serious justification and serious commitment to really want to commit to that larger form factor, because you're now walking in the territory of laptop screen sizes, laptop screen replacements. And when you get that, it doesn't even become about the limitations. It just becomes the cost is just too close or the same. Why not just buy the laptop anyway? That's the issue. It's not even the limitations of the OS. It's more the, wait, hang on a minute. It's the same as me buying a laptop. Might as well just get it then, right? Whereas 11-inch just hits that justification of size and price. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the lines definitely get blurred, like the 12.5-inch sort of region. And then, the 14-inch region, then you might as well just compare it straight to a, probably really to a Chrome OS laptop.
Yeah.
Like that's the closest really. Windows is definitely a different ball game to Android. But yeah, I think Chrome OS is actually probably the easiest thing I can compare it to at that stage.
Yeah. Great. Do you know what? You're actually the first, guest review. Literally, it's a weird one that's just been birthed out, but you're the first guest reviewer. So thank you for actually just creating that segment for, the guest to review their experience of their Samsung, device, which in this case was the base model of the Galaxy Tab S8 with the TFT LCD display, 2560 by 1600, 16 by 10 QHD display. Thank you so much for that feedback, man. And that pretty much wraps up episode 15 of your weekly SamMobile podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure and so much fun having you on here for the first time, Paul. I mean, you did well. This was a good, run for you. You've been thrown in the deep end. You've done well, mate.
Yeah, the rust definitely fell off quickly.
Yep.
Got back into the stride. Yeah.
Yep. As the car enthusiast would say, you've been galvanized. So all the rust needs to come off. So, mate, honestly, thank you so much. We'll have all Paul's details in the description for his socials. Give him a follow, so that, we can pretty much convince him to come back more regularly as well. For us, as always, make sure you give us a follow, turn on notifications, give us a rating, and also leave comments, give us some feedback on all different things that you want to see on a SamMobile Weekly podcast. And if you have any feedback, again, watch out for One UI 5 coverage when it's around the corner and other launches that we should hopefully be expecting throughout August and for the rest of the year. It's been a great one. And as we always like to say, we hope you're all safe during this time, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace out.